If our lives are not beneficial to others, our death will be a loss to no one. With this anonymous quote, I welcome you all to another edition of this wonderful program on radio, Education Today. Education Today is a program that aims to call the attention of the public to education matters as they affect the effective running of the educational system and the achievement of educational goals. This comes on air every Saturday from 3 o'clock to 4 p.m. West African time on this station, Light Radio.
Our goal is to educate, inform, orientate, and entertain the society on educational matters, address issues affecting the educational system, influencing public opinion, and drive effective educational policy direction to guide the formulation and implementers. For your comments, questions, and contribution, you can reach us on Facebook via www.facebook.com/lightradio, Twitter at Light Radio, Instagram Light_Radio, YouTube Light Radio. You can also call or send a message to us via SMS or WhatsApp on 08097384000.
We'll go on a quick break, and when we return, the program continues. Please stay with us.
If you are just joining in, you are listening to Education Today on Light Radio. We kick off with the news segment with Nima. Hello, Nima.
Hello, Aisha. Good afternoon. Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to the news on Education Today, reaching you live from Light Radio. I am Nima Ibrahim. First, the headlines. Academic activities paralyzed as Benue Varsity ASU begins indefinite strike. Boundary disputes. Oyo government orders reopening of 23 schools. 8,285 candidates register for maiden computer-based WASC. And on the foreign scene, Harvard under scrutiny for discrimination. Now the details. Academic activities come to a halt at Benue State University, Bisu Makurdi, as the Academic Staff Union of Universities, Benue State University branch, embarked on an indefinite strike. According to newsmen who visited the institution Friday morning, some students who had come for morning lectures were shocked to hear that their lecturers had begun a strike, which it described as total, indefinite, and comprehensive. BSU ASU, in a statement issued by the branch chairman and secretary, Comrade Kwafan Tanango and Tarimunga Gajir, respectively, made available to the news media on Friday, declared that the strike was initiated on Thursday after its meeting with the management. Accusing the university management of neglecting its welfare concerns despite numerous engagements, the union cited a tripartite agreement reached in January 2023 between the Benue State government, BNSG, BSU Administration Governing Council, and ASU-BSU. According to the union, the agreement included increased funding for the university to address issues of promotion and annual increments as a roadmap to industrial harmony at BSU. When contacted, the public relations officer of the university, Sev Anger, confirmed the notification of the strike by ASU, stating that the management met on Thursday evening but was unaware of the agenda of the management meeting. The Oyo State government has ordered the reopening of 23 schools in Atiba, Afijio, Oyo East, and Oyo West local government areas of the state. The Deputy Governor, Bayo Lawal, on Thursday waded into the boundary crisis that culminated in a 10-year closure of the schools in the local government areas. In a stakeholders meeting held at the Western Hall Secretariat, Ibadan, to fashion out ways of resolving the age-long land disputes, Barrister Bayo Lawal, who doubles as the chairman of the state Boundary Committee, charged the chairman of Atiba, Afijio, Oyo East and Oyo West local government areas to ensure security and peace in their domains. The deputy governor equally stated that the Ministry of Education will oversee the schools after reopening, as well as do all that is required to put the children back to school. The affected schools include Community Basic School Obananko, Community Basic School Lagbe, Pinnock Memorial Baptist School Abaikpo, Luatedo, Baptist Central School Oniyori, Baptist Primary School Agwo, ADS Primary Abuja Khan, among others. In attendance at the meeting were the Commissioner for Education, Science and Technology, Professor Saliu Adelabu, the Executive Chairman, Oyo State Universal Basic Education Board, Dr. Nureni Aderemi Adeniran, Chairman of the four local governments in question, traditional leaders, among other stakeholders. The head of National Office West African Examinations Council, WAEC Nigeria, Dr. Amos Josiah Dangote, has announced that despite the initial resistance, 8,285 candidates have registered for the maiden computer-based West African Senior School Certificate Examination (CB-WASC) First Series examination. The examination slated for Wednesday, January 31 to Saturday, February 17th, will see candidates get the results released after 45 days of the examination. In a press briefing held on Monday at WAEC Head Office Yaba, Dr. Dangote explained that the body has put in place measures to have a successful examination. In his words, the hybrid mode entails that the objective or multiple choice questions will be rendered on screen, and candidates are required to give their responses on the screen as well, while the essay and practical questions will be rendered on screen likewise, but candidates will be required to give their responses using the answer booklets provided. On the release of the result, Dr. Dangote reiterated that the results of candidates who sit the examination will be released 45 days after the conduct of the last paper, while duly awarded certificates will be available on request via setrequest.waec.org.ng. The federal government has unveiled a new teacher development program, Teacher Internship Scheme, TIS, designed to support states in the emergence of a new generation of teachers with the skills and knowledge needed to excel in the digital age and help in the implementation of smart education in Nigeria. The scheme was introduced by the Universal Basic Education Commission, UBEC, to address the dearth of teachers in the field of smart education being championed by the Commission in Nigeria with the establishment of 37 smart schools across the country. The execution of the smart education program in Nigeria is being provided technical support by the Korea International Cooperation Agency, KOICA, and a commitment of about $10.4 million to the project. Minister of Education Professor Tahir Maman flagged off the teacher internship scheme on Thursday at the UBEC Digital Resource Center located at Kado, Abuja, where he also inspected the facility established to serve as a hub for creating and distributing resources to schools as well as training the school personnel. Lastly, he expressed the commitment of the federal government towards the provision of information and communication technology, ICT infrastructure for enhanced teaching and learning in the country. And on the foreign scene, more than a dozen Palestinian and Muslim students say Harvard University has failed to protect and defend them from discrimination, harassment, and outright threats, according to a civil rights complaint filed with the U.S. Education Department. The filing Monday by the Muslim Legal Fund of Africa, or MLFA, calls on the federal government to investigate Harvard's response to reported assaults. The harassment outlined in the complaint was directed largely at student activists advocating for Palestinian rights amid the Israel-Hamas conflict. Some of the targeted students were wearing keffiyehs, traditional Palestinian scarves, when attackers threw objects at or poured things on them, the complaint says. MLFA therefore says others were stalked at their on-campus jobs and subjected to frequent doxing and intimidation, while some people targeted had not participated in public activism, the complaint says. However, the complaint says Harvard did little to support the students targeted by the alleged anti-Muslim harassment in the past few months. Campus leaders also told some of the students they were putting their future academic opportunities at risk by protesting, according to the group. That's all for the news today. But before we go, a quick recap of the major stories. Academic activities paralyzed as Benue Varsity ASU begins indefinite strike. Boundary disputes. Oyo government orders reopening of 23 schools. 8,285 candidates registered for maiden computer-based WASC. And on the foreign scene, Harvard under scrutiny for discrimination from Palestinian students. That's all for the news. It was compiled by Nima Ibrahim and edited by OLUBUNMI KAZEEM. Don't forget, for the coverage of your educational programs, seminars, fairs, trainings, among others, you can call us on 0702 507 4268, or you can send us an email via educationmediaservices@gmail.com. Thank you for listening. The program will be back shortly. Iṣẹ́ burúkú ni wọ́n ń ṣe tí wọ́n bá jalè wọ́n wá tún fọ́lé ẹ̀dá kún yé ẹni òbí wa tẹ́bá lówó kẹjọ kẹtọ́ wa ẹ̀dá kún yé ẹni òbí wa tẹ́bá lówó kẹjọ kẹtọ́ wa.
You are still on to Education Today on Light Radio, and we are moving into the That's how we can take on the news for today. Right now, we'll take the icon of the week.
You're welcome once again to the Icon of the Week segment, where we consider the life and times of individuals that lived inspiring lives and contributed immensely to educational development in our world. I am Nima Ibrahim, and our icon for this week is the great writer, poet, actress, dancer, and social rights activist Maya Angelou. Maya Angelou was an American poet, memoirist, and actress whose several volumes of autobiography explored the themes of economic, racial, and sexual oppression. She was a multi-talented writer and performer, best known for her work as an author and poet. Maya Angelou was born Marguerite Ann Johnson on April 4, 1928 in St. Louis, Missouri, United States. She had a difficult childhood. Her parents split up when she was very young, and she and her older brother Bailey were sent to live with their paternal grandmother Ann Henderson in Stamps, Arkansas. Bailey gave Margaret the nickname Maya, which she would adopt as a preferred name later in life. As an African American, Angelou experienced first-hand racial prejudices and discrimination in Arkansas. She also suffered violence at home when she was around the age of 7, and during a visit with her mother, Maya was raped by her mother's boyfriend. And as vengeance for the sexual assault, her uncles killed the boyfriend. Young Maya was so traumatized by the experience that she stopped talking, and she returned to Arkansas and spent about 5 years as a virtual mute. This early life is the focus of her first autobiographical work, I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings, published in 1969 and as a movie on TV in 1979, which gained critical acclaim and a National Book Award nomination. Subsequent volumes of autobiography include Gather Together, In My Name, Singing and Swinging and Getting Merry Like Christmas 1976, The Heart of a Woman in 1981, All God's Children Need Traveling Shoes 1986, A Song Flung Up to Heaven 2002, and Mom and Me and Mom 2013. A short-lived high school relationship resulted in Maya becoming pregnant. She was 16 years old when she delivered her first son, Guy Johnson, in 1944. After giving birth, she worked a number of jobs to support herself and her child. Around this time, Maya moved to San Francisco and won a scholarship to study dance and acting at the California Label School. She also became the first black female cable car conductor, a job she held only briefly in San Francisco. In the mid-1950s, the world began to know Maya Angelou a professional name adapted from her first husband's last name, when her career as an actor and singer took off. She landed a role in the touring production of Porgy and Bess, later appearing in the off-Broadway production Calypso Hit Wave in 1957 and releasing her first album, Miss Calypso, in 1957 as well. Moving to New York City in the late 1950s, Angelou found encouragement for her literary talent at the Harlem Writers Guild. About the same time, Angelou landed a featured role in a State Department-sponsored production of George Gershwin's folk opera Porgy and Bess. With this troupe, she toured 22 countries in Europe and Africa. She also studied dance with Martha Graham and the Pearl Primus. In 1961, she performed in Jean Genet's play The Blacks. And that same year, she was persuaded by a South African dissident to whom she was briefly married to move to Cairo, where she worked for the Arab Observer. She later moved to Ghana and worked on the African Review. And in her work as a civil rights activist, she collaborated with Martin Luther King Jr. and Malcolm X, among others. King was killed on Angelou's 40th birthday, leading the author to stop celebrating her birthday for years afterward. She also sent flowers to King's widow, Coretta Scott King, for more than 30 years until Coretta's death in 2006. Angelou returned to California in 1966 and wrote Black Blues Black, aired in 1968, a 10-part television series about the role of African culture in American life. Her 1969 memoir, I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings, made literary history as the first non-fiction bestseller by a black woman. As the writer of the movie drama Georgia in 1972, she became one of the first African American women to have a screenplay produced as a feature film. She also acted in such movies as Poetic Justice in 1993 and How to Make an American Quilt in 1995 and appeared in several television productions, including the miniseries Roots in 1977. Angelou received a Tony Award nomination for a performance in Look Away in 1973, despite the fact that the play closed on Broadway after only one performance. In 1998, she made a directorial debut with Down in the Delta. The documentary Maya Angelou and Still I Rise in 2016 depicts her life through interviews with Angelou and her intimates and admirers. Angelou's poetry, collected in such volumes as Just Give Me a Cool Drink of Water Before I Die in 1971 and Still I Rise in 1978, Now Sheba Sings the Song in 1987, and I Shall Not Be Moved in 1999, drew heavily on a personal history but employed the point of views of various personnel. She also wrote a book of meditations, Wouldn't Take Nothing for My Journey Now in 1993, and children's books that include My Painted House, My Friendly Chicken and Me in 1994, Life Doesn't Frighten Me in 1998, and the Maya's World series, which was published in 2004-2005 and featured stories of children from various parts of the world. Angelou dispensed anecdote-laden advice to women in Letter to My Daughter, 2008, though her only biological child was a male. Maya Angelou died on May 2014 at her home in Winston-Salem, North Carolina at age 86. In November 2020, the San Francisco Arts Commission unanimously approved the recommendation for a sculpture honoring Angelou in recognition of her many accomplishments, including breaking the color and gender barriers by becoming San Francisco's first African-American female streetcar conductor, an award-winning author and poet, a Presidential Medal of Freedom recipient, and a civil rights leader. Meanwhile, Angelou has become one of the historical figures featured on U.S. money, as it was announced in May 2021 that she would be one of the first women commemorated with a new series of quarters from the U.S. Mint. The first shipments of the coin were made in January 2022. Maya's famous quotes include, If you don't like something, change it. And if you can't change it, change your attitude. We may encounter many defeats, but we must not be defeated. That's it today on the icon of the week. I am Nima Ibrahim. Education Today continues shortly. Please don't go nowhere. That was the icon of the week segment, and we celebrate the great author and poet Maya Angelou. Right now, we'll take the School in Focus segment with Aisha. Hello, Aisha.
Hi, Nima.
All right, you're on.
Good afternoon and welcome to the School in Focus segment, where we take a look at Institute of Interest, provide a background to the establishment, their administration, and some notable alumni. I am Aisha Hussein. Our School in Focus is Emmanuel Alayode College of Education, now University of Education. Emmanuel Alayode University of Education, formerly known as Emmanuel Alayode College of Education and Oyo State College of Education, is a state-owned university of education located in Oyo State, Nigeria. The status of the institution has changed at different times, transitioning from a strictly religious college to a public university of education. At inception in 1896, it was St. Andrew's College, Oyo, established by the Church Missionary Society, CMS, as a teacher training college to produce holders of Grade 2 teacher certificate. It's ranked as the oldest teachers training college in Nigeria. The divinity course for training church ministers was added to curriculum between 1910 to 1942, and the ownership of the college was transferred from CMS London to the Church of Nigerian Angelical Communion. In 1976, the clamor for its upgrade to an NCE awarding institution began in 1977. Government took over the control and administration of all schools in the Nigerian Federation, and with this development, the Church of Nigeria was divested of her proprietorship of the college. However, the St. Andrews College Old Boys Association, SACOBA, interest, and by extension that of the church in the growth and development of St. Andrews did not wane. Thus, in response to SACOBA's petition, the erstwhile Oyo State government upgraded the institution to an NCE awarding college campus under the then Oyo State College of Education, Ilesha, in 1980. In March 1983, the supervision of the college was transferred to the Oyo State College of Education, Ila-Orogun. The college gained full autonomy as a full-fledged college of education on 1st October 1985. Thus, at various times, the institution had been known as St. Andrew's College of Education, Oyo State, Oyo State College of Education, Oyo, and later Emmanuel Alayode College of Education, Oyo. In 2008, in memory of renowned educationalist and Andrean Rev. Canon Emmanuel Alayode, without affecting the core mandate as it stipulated in the college enabling law. Emmanuel Alayode of Education, Oyo, is located in the southwestern part of ancient city of Oyo, specifically in Erelu area. The college operates on 2 campuses in Oyo, with the main campus situated in Erelu at the southwestern part of Oyo State. As an autonomous institution, its primary goal is to produce highly qualified teachers through course leading to the award of Nigerian Certificate in Education, NCE. The academic structure includes 6 faculties. On March 17, 2021, Governor Seyi Makinde of Oyo State granted approval for the elevation of Emmanuel Alayode College of Education, Oyo, to the status of comprehensive university specializing in education. The announcement was made by the Commissioner for Education, Science and Technology in the state. With the development, the institution will be able to award the degree certificate, and the certificate was handed over to the school council by the NUC Executive Secretary, Prof. Abubakar Rashid. The certificate was handed over to Engineer Seyi Makinde, the Executive Governor of Oyo State. Thus, on 2nd December 2022, Governor Seyi Makinde of Oyo State transformed the status of the institution from being a college of education to a university of education. The transformation from a teacher's grade 2 awarding institute to a Nigerian certificate in education and then degree awarding institution is an undeniable fact that the institution has been responding to the needs of the society and time. As at today, the institution has produced thousands and very skillful teachers and professionals in other fields of endeavors, making useful contribution to nation's building. Applicants seeking admission to Emmanuel Alayode College of Education must have chosen the school in JAMB, UTME with 5 credits in O-level, be it WAEC, NECO or NAPTEP, in English, mathematics and 3 other relevant subjects. And that's it on our schooling focus today. I remain Aisha Ozain. Education Today continues in a moment. Please stay.
Iṣẹ́ burúkú ni wọ́n ń ṣe tí wọ́n bá jalè wọ́n tún fọ́lé ẹ̀dá kún yé ẹ̀yin òbí wa lẹ́bàá lówó kẹjọ kẹtọ́ wa. Iṣẹ́ burúkú ni wọ́n ń ṣe tí wọ́n bá jalè wọ́n tún fọ́lé ẹ̀dá kún yé ẹ̀yin òbí wa lẹ́bàá lówó kẹjọ kẹtọ́ wa. Ẹ̀dá kún yé ẹ̀yin òbí wa lẹ́bàá lówó kẹjọ kẹtọ́ wa.
You are still on to Education Today on Light Radio, and we are moving into the discourse segment, and our guest is here with us. We are discussing the 2024 National Budget, Education in Focus.
Okay, so as you know, the national budget was presented in November 2023 and passed and approved in December of the same year, while the president approved it January 1st, 2024. So to join us on the program today is our in-house analyst, an educational consultant, researcher, and lecturer at the University of Lagos, talking about our very own Mr. OLUBUNMI KAZEEM. Good afternoon, Mr. KAZEEM.
Good afternoon, Nima. Good afternoon, Aisha. It's a pleasure to be here again, and good afternoon, our listeners.
Yes. Don't forget you can be part of the discourse by sending your comments and questions to 0809 738 4000, or you can as well drop them as comments under our live video feeds on Facebook and YouTube.
Before moving into this discourse proper, our short quiz question: what is the birth name of Maya Angelou? Send your answers to the WhatsApp number 08097384000 or our Facebook or YouTube page. The first to get the correct answer wins the prize.
Yeah, so Aisha.
Now, moving into the discuss segment now, we would want to ask you what value of the 2024 national budget, like what is the value of the whole budget?
Well, thank you very much. The 2024 budget has a figure of 27.5 trillion naira,
That's quite big.
and that's an increment when compared to the 2023 budget of about 24 trillion, naira. So, in nominal figures, that's an increment actually. So, 24 so the current budget 2024 budget is 27.5 trillion naira.
So, how much was allocated to education, and what proportion of the total budget does that constitute?
All right. There's some of based on the sectoral allocation, we have 2.18 trillion naira allocated to education, and that constitutes around 7.9% of the total budget. And there are some other sectors too, like defense and security, that actually had the highest. That's gulped around 3.25 trillion naira, and that's about 12% of the budget. So, and for health, we have about 1.33 trillion naira, accounting for actually less, just about say 3 or 4% of the total budget. So, yeah.
All right. So, my question would be that, you said, looking at it at the face value, the 2024 budget has a slight increment when compared to 2023 budget. But I want you to take us back a bit. In comparison with the previous budgets we have had in this country, how do you think the 2024 allocations stand out?
Well, let me probably first start by saying that, when I said the face value, the null value, that we
Yes.
have about 27.5 trillion naira.
Yes.
When you compare that to that of last year's budget, that's about 24.82 trillion naira. You would say yes, probably we have
Moved up.
moved up. We have
A
budgeted
bit.
more. But in reality, if you look at it in real terms, what was the value of the naira to the dollar as at 2023
Exactly.
January, when the budget was signed into law, and what's the value of the naira to the dollar, the exchange rate, as
Currently.
of this year? So in real terms, you would look at it and you'd say that what you're seeing 24 point something, 27.5 trillion naira as
Thereabouts.
budget, but in reality you only have just about 20, that's just about 27.5 billion dollars.
Okay.
Now compare that to last year's budget that you're seeing, yes, something around 24.82, or let's say 25 trillion naira. By the time you look at it, if we convert it to dollar terms, you still have almost about say $50 billion, even if not more than that. So or close to that, just around say $40 billion. So when you're comparing,
Right.
$27.5 billion and 40 something, about say $40 billion. In real terms, you would see that the budget for last year is actually better than that of this year.
Yes,
But
that's
in
what
nominal,
I'm
in
saying.
terms of the face value, you look at it, 27.5 trillion, and that's one. The number two is also the fact that if you look at the budget for the education sector specifically now, for instance, in 2024, we are talking about 2.18 trillion naira. For last year, the budget for education was about 1.79 trillion naira, or almost 1.8
8
trillion
trillion
naira.
naira.
So nominally, you would say yes, we have performed better this year,
Yes.
but in real terms,
Does not
it's
solve problems.
really not better in any way actually.
So, does this meet your expectations, and why would you not meet your expectations?
It doesn't meet my expectation because I'm looking at it compared to the need,
Of
and
the people.
compared to the fact that if you're to look at it in real terms, we're really not doing enough. Although you would say it's a function of government revenue, but in reality, a lot is actually being lost as a result of leakages, corruption, and what have you. That's actually made it almost impossible for us to really get in real terms, or the real value of what we should be doing as a national budget. See, if you're talking about this fact, you're saying that a nation is doing less than $40 billion that's not up to the budget of, so let me say, like the fire service in the United States annual budget. That's
Just
not
to
even
get
up
to
to
that.
probably the budget of some institutions outside Nigeria. I'm talking about the giant of Africa, over 200 million people. When the United States is actually doing trillions of dollars in budgets, and we are doing billions of dollars in budgets. And in terms of population, we're talking about Nigeria that is about 220 million people, and United States of America that is just about 330 million people. And our budget is nowhere near, like, just like 10% of what United States of America is doing. And we're talking about the giant of Africa, really. I'm really serious.
You're not there.
All right.
So if you're saying in terms of my expectations have not been met. Then also, mind you, the fact that this government promised a whole lot of things during the campaigns, and it's supposed to be actually be a continuity over, it's the same APC administration. So you're expecting that when you understand the plight of the people and the feelings of the people and their expectations, for the fact that you're saying, oh, this is a man that knows the way. Say, follow the man who knows the way. I know the road. You remember during the campaigns, I know the road. Follow the man who knows the road. Now, Nigerians have followed the man.
Yes,
The
not
man
the-
claimed he knows the
They
road.
didn't hold their teeth.
We don't know whether or not, probably he lost the compass, or whether he has actually forgotten the direction of the road. Sometimes when you know a particular road so well, you don't even need a compass to actually, but it's
Yes.
possible probably is suffering from some things that could probably that have actually blurred his vision, or probably is actually blurred his thinking focus, that he's able to probably he's not able to recognize the road anymore.
Benefit of
Sincerely,
doubt.
we really don't know. But then I feel like to a large extent Nigerians expected something better from this administration.
All right. So your last answer takes me to my next question. How does this budget when compared to other countries' budgets? You mentioned some institutions in America, but
Yes,
some other countries' budgets in this same Africa. When we compare our 2024 national budget, do you think we have a place? Do you think we hold water with our budgets and things like that?
Absolutely no. And sincerely, it's a function of priorities. Priorities in the sense that if you're to look at it, since 1999,
That's
the
way
highest
back.
in terms of budgetary allocation to education has actually been, if I'm not mistaken, I think other President, Olusegun Obasanjo or something thereabout, we probably did for one something close to 12%. It's previous about 2-3 administrations away, and that was the highest ever. We've not even moved close to what international organizations or what have you have actually recommended for Africa. So, and we're talking about the giant of Africa here. Now, if you look at our budget for probably the last decade, we have not hit 10% of our budgetary allocation. The total budget that we allocate at least about 10% of our total budget to education. We have not hit that. The highest we ever got to in the last decade is just around 9 point something percent. Now, this current budget is actually less than 8%. That's just about 7.9% of the total budget. Now, there are some countries in Africa. Look at, in 2022, South Africa did as much as 19.75% of its annual budget. Now, and that was a 1.33% increase from its 2021 budget. Namibia, another Southern African country, did 24.71% of its budgetary allocation. And that was in 2022. In 2023, Namibia did 27.3% of its annual budget devoted to education. See, Algeria has been recording double digits for 9 consecutive years between 2013 and 2022. Double digits, Algeria. Now, These are fellow African countries. We are not saying, okay, let's compare Nigeria with US, the United Kingdom, Switzerland, Netherlands, Germany. Also, we are not doing that. Now, fellow African countries. So little wonder you see Nigerians actually running away to even South Africa, to Uganda, to Ghana. And we want to compete. Mind you, these countries don't have our population.
Yeah.
These countries don't have our resources. But then,
So it means that you are proposing that we have misplaced of priorities in this country.
no, certainly, it shows we really don't actually accord priority to education. Education is not in the front burner. It's not, we actually don't see it as something of priority that we really need to devote resources and the necessary attention that it requires.
So all of those things they are like giving priorities to in the national budget. I don't see, or I don't know how it is affecting education. Like,
The thing is, when you actually don't place priority on education, a lot of things would happen. A lot of things would suffer. We'll suffer dilapidation in infrastructure. We'll suffer lack of motivation by those who are actually practitioners, those who work within that sector. You also talk about the fact that Nigeria has the highest population out of school children. We have about 20 million out of school population children. 20 million. That's 20 million Boko Haram waiting to happen. We've not got to that. Look at the state of insecurity in the country. And it will get worse.
yes.
See, I'm not a prophet of doom, but it's a fact. No. Because these are the people that will easily be recruited by militants, by terrorists, by bandits, by kidnappers, by
thieves.
separationists, armed robbers, and what have you. So you're talking about that. Then again, you're talking about the fact that in the last 1 or 2 years, over 18% of Nigerians have actually dropped out of tertiary institutions because of inability to finance their education.
Poverty.
Now, you're talking about the same schools that increase school fees. You remember we talked about this several times. So now, what would happen is the fact that most children would still drop out of schools because they can't meet up with the cost of education. And unfortunately, beyond that is also the fact that for Nigeria, it will be so terrible that even our schools, probably look at our tertiary institutions, they are not better than glorified secondary schools in terms of infrastructure, in terms of facilities, in terms of the quality of instruction that is going on there. Our classes are overfilled. Our laboratories are empty, nothing there. Imagine, in secondary school, we talk about Bunsen burner when we do chemistry practical. Nigerian tertiary institution laboratories don't have Bunsen burner anymore. They use stove in the laboratories. Is that not shameful? These are the things that would happen when you don't accord priority to education. Sincerely, when you don't devote funding to education, these are the things I would see.
So, in relation to the UNESCO recommendations for developing countries, what would you say concerning this budget?
No, it's nowhere near. See, UNESCO, United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization, recommended that for developing countries like Nigeria, that we should devote about 15 to 20% of our annual budget to education.
We are not
So between 15 and 20 as a developing nation. Now, the reality is that we are not anywhere close to that. And we also now have some other African countries that are even doing more than 20%.
and this is
Fellow African countries. And we all want to see, we are hoping that we would attain the same thing. See, by 2030, the SDG 4 of providing, basic and qualitative education to all citizens. Nigeria cannot meet it if we continue this way. It's not, see, that's a fact. See, what year are we? This is 2024. 2030 is just 6 years away. And we are still doing our budget of less than 10%.
okay.
And the same African countries that we are in the same cadre are already doing more than even what the UNESCO recommended. And you want us to actually achieve the same thing. So the implication is by 2030, so many African countries will have left Nigeria behind. And these are giants of Africa. This is the giant of Africa.
So there's this saying that says if you don't reach like rock bottom, you can't go up.
Oh, okay. Are we balloons? Or are we, island ball that you use probably for tennis? That you say, okay, until you hit it. See, the truth is, unfortunately, that thing will not work for Nigeria. Do you know why? Naturally you say that, when Nigerians are, when people get pushed to the wall, they face back, they turn back. Is that also? That's ordinary what you also expect. So when that ball hits the ground, it will come up again. But unfortunately, Nigerians don't bounce. Nigeria's situation will not bounce. Rather, we'll continue to dig into the soil. I will continue to go further. That's that's our nature, unfortunately.
All right. So my question is, at the beginning of this administration, or the mantra for this current administration has been renewed hope. Now, this is what this government has promised and is still promising continuously. And so this 2024 budget being the first of the budgets in this administration, how do you think that this budget relates to the promise? And quickly, I would also like you to highlight, the major expectations of Nigerians in terms of education funding.
Okay, fine. If you marry the two together, around August 2023, the Minister of Education, Professor Tahir Mamman, came out to tell us that this government is working towards, having a budgetary allocation to education of almost around 25%.
People don't forget things.
Sincerely, you say some of these things.
Yeah.
Political statements. Yes, it will make the headlines. If you notice, if there is anything about this government, they like to make the headlines. They back, but they don't bite. That's it. No, seriously. That's what they promise us. So we're looking at least for this budget, even if we cannot do up to 25% during the first year, let us even start around, let's say 12-15%.
Okay.
Go even above at least the first digit. Move into the 2 digits. Let's not even have it like, say, 10 to, between 10 and 15%. At least for the first year, we can now say, okay, that will be an incremental, allocation over the years. Let's say probably by next year, we'll have, 17%, in so 19, 20%, and so on like that. Since you promised 25%. Now, unfortunately, you now started with 7.9%. That's disastrous, actually, if to say anything. That's number one. Number two is also the fact that you remember that they promised us student loan.
Yes.
He said probably January. Now, today is 3rd of February. And student loan remains work in progress. That's part of the expectations of Nigerians, mind you.
Yes.
They promised us renewed hope. We're hoping that probably, with student loan, and Asu was telling us then, beware of what you wish for. Now, student loan. So, it's no longer renewed hope. It's now becoming renewed shege for Nigerians. Seriously. Renewed tears. Because, unfortunately, if you're to look at it, we would have expected that where I actually, got my, the first indication that we should not expect anything much from this government was when they came up with a supplementary budget. And all that we saw were just purchase of vehicles, allocation of money to the office of First Lady, allowances, and things like that. Like, you don't mean it.
Are they for real?
Are they for real? Do these guys really understand the mood of the nation and what the expectations, of the people are concerning this administration? And unfortunately, let's not even go there, because that one, I can't even fathom it. Let me give you an instance. Before, as of last year, we were still saying that an average professor in Nigeria does not collect up to $500.
Yeah.
Now, the salary of a professor now in Nigeria, has done one of the analysis that was done by one of the presidential candidates last year. By the time you look at it with the current exchange rate, it's now less than it's just around $263 a month. A professor.
Wow.
A professor. A prof. Do you know what it takes to become a professor? $263 in a month. By the time you divide that by 20 days, you're saying that a professor in Nigeria earns less than $20 in a day.
No motivation.
Pathetic.
Well,
all right. So you already mentioned the student loan as one of the major expectations. Do we have more of them? Your expectations?
What we'll also expect is that there'll be better funding of educational agencies. We'll be looking towards the fact that let us see what government's plan is concerning the out-of-school population, out-of-school children in Nigeria. We are looking towards the fact that we probably will expect something like something that would improve school security, because a lot of people have been kidnapped from schools. Look at just what happened in Ekiti. Students were kidnapped. Students, teachers, and the driver of the school bus. 10 of them were kidnapped. Now, so insecurity for schools. We're looking at something. The other time they told us about school protection squad by the police. Yeah. We've really not seen anything in that direction. Beyond that is also the fact that ASU, the issue of outstanding salary owed ASU.
ASU Benue State University.
Now they have embarked on an indefinite strike. Now imagine if the national ASU also now decides that these guys came in and they promised that they will pay us the salary owed by Buhari. Now I don't think nothing. Now imagine if ASU decides that we would also now go on strike this year. We're talking about the fact that salaries have been wiped out. What is the issue of the minimum wage? Because teachers are also affected. Many schools are actually going down. See, many schools are going down because they don't have teachers anymore. Because the salary is nothing to write home about. Inflation has wiped out people's salaries. So schools are getting more expensive. So do we have anything in that direction? So we're looking at this and we're like, what exactly is the plan of this administration for teachers, for students? In terms of research, in terms of facility, we appreciate the fact that the government came out with this intervention fund through TED fund. But mind you, and it's rather unfortunate that we included that TED fund, intervention fund as part of the
General education budget.
It's ridiculous. 700 billion naira allocated to TED fund. Although that's an increment from 320 billion that TED fund had earlier. Now they got 700 billion this year. You now included that into the education budget.
What happened to having it as a different
separate? You see, the idea is that now by implication, if you look at that 7.9%,
that means TED fund is already taken.
It's part of it. So if you remove TED fund and you remove UBEC,
what's
that is? So what you have is less. That is just around 1.3 trillion, almost the same thing as last year's budget. So in fact, less than last year. So
exactly.
Are we not deceiving ourselves?
That's
why I said, see, it's not just about making headlines.
Then we also have the school feeding program. We've not been hearing much about
the national school, social investment program has actually been suspended because of corruption. We're here now. We're better gates now. Remember, what they just tried to do was to free up funds for the people in government to spend. Not exactly spending on the people. Imagine the people that are downtrodden, who are supposed to be taken care of by the social investment programs. You are now using that money. You are investing that money.
How do our hope get renewed? Like all of the renewed everything. How do we?
Well, I think it starts from the government itself. See, it's about the government here, and I'm being serious. When I say about the government, it's about the government getting its priorities right.
Right. Yeah.
Realizing that the people voted it into power, and it will be a disappointment to the people that this is what they get as a reward for voting that party into power again.
Many Nigerians are even regretting.
Now, see, you can, if you understand the mood of the people right now, what is going on in the street? People are angry. People are hungry. Seriously.
It's not,
and unfortunately, it's as if these guys came from the moon and they don't understand what is going on. In the face of all this, you live and you continue to live large. You continue to behave as if nothing is at stake. For goodness sake.
And people are just dying away.
See, let me tell you. Do you know what they say now? That it's dangerous to be sick now.
Very, very.
Because you can't dare the cost of healthcare. The cost of medication has hit, it has shot up beyond the roof. We say it has hit the roof. This one has actually blown the roof away. Seriously. Because, see, don't fall sick now. People are now going back to Agbo. How about meds? Yes, now. If you're an asthmatic patient, what you probably were getting for 5,000, 6,000 before is around 30, 40,000 now.
Wow.
And you expect the people with the same salary to still be able to meet up with that.
Asthma is even very high. Malaria
Well,
itself.
rounding up, how do you think the government can meet the UNESCO, recommendations and standards, and as well meet the expectations of Nigerians in general?
We really need to look at how do we plug the loopholes. One, we really need to look at diversifying the economy. The government needs to go beyond, this,
Audio
mere,
promises.
political statements that yes, we are diversifying the economy. What is solid minerals contributing to our economy? See, let me tell you that some countries, they live probably just on gold. Some live on diamonds. Some live on platinum. Some live on just cement, limestone. See, we have all this.
Everything.
See, imagine that Nigerians have limestone and we are still buying cement at the cost at which we are buying. Cement is more than 6,000 a bag now.
Yes.
A bag of cement. And we produce it here in Nigeria. And it's even more expensive in Nigeria than it is in other African countries that we export to. Is that not ridiculous?
It is.
So we're saying that by the time we diversify the economy to other sectors that can bring in enough revenue, the government would have enough, including that of crude oil and gas. See, Nigeria is a gas nation. We are not a crude oil nation. We are a gas nation.
I think we are
In terms of our reserve, let me tell you, our gas reserves is more than our crude oil reserve. But unfortunately, we flare our gas. And unfortunately, even cooking gas is even very expensive. Cooking gas now is around 13,000 naira now for a 12.5 kg. LPG. Liquefied petroleum gas that people use for cooking. Is it not ridiculous? And this is what we produce here. So we really need to look at this, truly diversify. And I also think that there is a need for us to actually practice fiscal federalism for that diversification to also work. By the time each state is generating its money from what it has, rather than this feeding bottle system where everyone looks up to Abuja, the governors are lazy. Everyone is looking at what is coming from the Niger Delta. And at the end of the day, unfortunately, you will say Zamfara Gold belongs to Zamfara. But the oil in the Niger Delta belongs to everybody. No, is it not on serious? Then by the time we also look at insecurity, see, there is no how we can have. See, all these things that we are talking about for education, it will only be possible when we have the resources. And the resources will not come if the economy, is not improved. And you cannot improve the economy when there is insecurity. Because the insecurity is pervasive, is everywhere. Nowhere is safe anymore, including the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja.
Yes.
So by the time everywhere is unsafe, who would go to farm?
No.
Who would want to go and work and be kidnapped?
Fearing for our lives.
So, and all these places, especially some of these northern states, that is where we have the mineral resources.
Yes.
But the people are being scared away, they are being sent away, killed, and villages being sacked so that they can have access to these mineral resources and be exploiting them illegally. Illegal mining is actually fueling insecurity. But unfortunately, many schools will also not be able. Schools cannot be. Look at the case of Oyo State. Because of boundary issues among communities, 10 years. Imagine what would happen to the children in those communities. No schooling.
23 schools.
For 10 years. Imagine 43 schools. Do you think those ones would have probably now traveled to another community? There are so many people that will not be able to travel.
Yes.
For 10 years, a lot of them would have even forgotten anything called education. So how many of them do you think would be able to come back? And that's why we think that this government really needs to sit down and be intentional about education. See, it cannot happen by coincidence. And education is not cheap. See, let us face the reality. It is not cheap. And again, we must devote attention to public education. It's not everybody that can afford private education. And it's not everybody that can afford to send their children abroad. For goodness sake, these people benefited public education. So why are you taking it away from the masses that don't have any other option? Some people could have option probably to send their children to private schools, but some don't have. And at the end of the day, you have made the whole public education system collapse. So that at the end of the day, if you want quality, you cannot get it from the public schools. It doesn't make sense. For goodness sake, why then are people paying tax? Or do you want to get to a point where people will say, we are no longer paying tax and nobody is paying anything to the government until they do the needful? Is that what you want? Do you want a chaotic situation?
Get to that stage.
Don't let the people get provoked to such an extent that there will be chaos. And the government will not be able to hold the people to account for whatever they do anymore. Because virtually everything that we use, we provide ourselves. We provide our own electricity, provide our own healthcare, provide our own education, provide our own security. What then is the essence of government? What are the people benefiting from the government? So it is important that we all look at this. And unfortunately, for us to get it right, if we don't get our education right, we cannot get any other sector right.
Wow.
You need to go back
That's
to the
it.
drawing board.
No, where are we producing the people that will become leaders? Where are we producing people that would actually work in all these sectors? How do we engineer our economy when we don't have the people that actually have the knowledge,
Basic knowledge.
the skills, and the attitude required to power the economy? Where are we producing them? It is this educational system, and that's why we really need to please, and I'm begging the government, I'm begging the president, I'm begging the minister of education, and I'm begging all the education sector policy formulators that you have in various ministries and agencies of education that, see, we don't have any other country apart from Nigeria.
Yes.
So please and please, let's be patriotic. See, enough of what is in it for me. See, by the time you settle and you provide the necessary environment, there will be enough to go round. See,
Exactly.
my people would say, "Nkoto wa nle o to pin." What we have as a nation is enough to take care of every one of us. It's enough to take care of our need, but it might not be enough to take care of our greed. And it is the greed that's actually
That's causing
affecting all
problems.
these. So please, we are begging.
Thank you very much, and that's all we can take on the discourse segment for today. We'd like to appreciate our in-house analyst, Mr. OLUBUNMI KAZEEM, for the beautiful insights he has provided on today's program. We'll go on another break now, and we'll be back for the words of Marble. Please stay with us.
tó bá kàwé rẹ̀ bàtà rẹ̀ á dùn kó ká tá a bá kàwé wa bàtà wa á dùn kó ká. Bàtà mi àwọ̀ ṣẹ̀rẹ̀rẹ̀ nílé o. Bàtà mi àwọ̀ ṣẹ̀rẹ̀rẹ̀ nílé. Bàtà rẹ̀ àwọ̀ ṣẹ̀rẹ̀rẹ̀ nílé o. Bàtà wa àwọ̀ ṣẹ̀rẹ̀rẹ̀ nílé.
You're welcome to the Words of Marble segment of Education Today, where we take a look at memorable quotes that are educational and inspirational to everyone. Today, we have a quote from George E. According to him, in a society where all bright minds don't want to be teachers, their children will be taught by idiots. I take that again. A society where all bright minds don't want to be teachers, their children will be taught by idiots. That's our words of Marble for today. It is our duty to encourage our brightest mind to move or be retained by the institution as teachers. This will assist us in producing the desired professionals to engineer and power the economy we all anticipate.
All right. So, do we have a winner to the quiz question? The question was, what was the birth name of Maya Angelou, who happens to be our icon for this week segment? So we don't have a winner. Okay, so the answer to the question is Maya Angelou's birth name. Our real name is Marguerite Ann Johnson. The name again is Marguerite Ann Johnson. So in case you come across that name, don't start wondering, oh, who's this? Is so Maya Angelou? Or if you hear of Maya Angelou, she's the same person as Marguerite Ann Johnson. So I'd like to give a shout out to some of our audiences who continue to engage us on our live feeds on Facebook and YouTube. We have Ganiyat, we have Ibrahim. Thank you for sticking with us up to this moment. We have Amina Ibrahim. She has a comment for us. You hit the nail on the head. Not many people even want to school in Nigeria again with this renewed shege in our words. We jointly pray all ends well at the end of the administration. Thank you very much, Amina. Thank you, Aisha, for watching live with us as well. Thank you very much. Thank you. We really appreciate your engagement always. And this is to inform you, our esteemed listeners, that you can sponsor this program. We cannot overemphasize this point. We really need sponsors for this program. Or don't you feel this program is worth sponsoring, so feel free to do that. And you can also advertise your products and services and also showcase your events on our program. This you can do by calling the number 0703 953 8998. Again, 0703 953 8998. Or 0702 507 4268. The number again is 0702 507 4268. Thank you very much for joining us today. Let us know how you feel about today's program through our various Facebook platforms on facebook.com/education today, on X at education today, no spacing, and on YouTube, Education Space Today. You can also send an email to educationmediaservices@gmail.com. We'll always be there, to reply you and hear you out.
Many thanks to the entire crew of Education Today and the management of Light Radio, especially Twice and Fisayo. We also wish
Thank you, Saeed, for being on the handles as well. Thank you very much.
We also wish our directors of programs a happy married life.
All right, and so do join us same time next week for another beautiful, enlightening and educative program on Light Radio Education Today. I remain Nima Ibrahim.
And I am Aisha Hussein.
See you next week and goodbye.
láyé táwa yìí sẹ́ ẹ̀kọ́ dára púpọ̀ ẹ̀kọ́ ló láyé táwa yìí sẹ́ ẹ̀kọ́ ló ń gbé ní dẹni gíga ẹ̀kọ́ ló ń gbé ní dépò ọlá ẹ̀dàkúnyé ẹ̀yin òbí wa tẹ́bà lówó kẹjọ kẹtọ́ wa ẹ̀kọ́ ló ń gbé ní dẹni gíga ẹ̀kọ́ ló ń gbé ní dépò ọlá ẹ̀dàkúnyé ẹ̀yin òbí wa tẹ́bà lówó kẹjọ kẹtọ́ wa ẹ̀dàkúnyé ẹ̀yin òbí wa tẹ́bà lówó kẹjọ kẹtọ́